Hello, welcome to today's webinar, Excluding Stress and its Effect on the Body, including blood sugar balancing and inflammation. So I hope you had a great day, and thank you again for spending your time with me this evening. A quick overview on my training and experience. I have graduated as a naturopath and a nutritional therapist in 2016 after decades of interest in nutrition. I did my intensive training in cooking with 8 years of training and 25 years of experience now. I have perfected taste and flavor to build my own repertoire, but also took that time to study food and its therapeutic use. As I've always had that saying that food is medicine, well, until I started to train and realized it was already a thing since, well, Hippocrates, really. So, yeah, nothing new there. But because I was a private chef, this has allowed me to travel and, of course, to have unrestricted resources to experimenting and discoveries. For example, food can affect energy or lack of, for example, if you think of a much needed nap after a big meal, for example. But food can also play on the mood and the way we feel. Any impacts on inflammation and pain is somewhat obvious, especially for the people dealing with it on a daily basis. And today, I'm very honored to present this webinar and for Ifazatera to give me the opportunity to spread my message and for the constant support. I feel very privileged actually to be working with such great company, and today I want to promote the use of therapeutic mushrooms and Ifazatera for their ethic, dedication, and amazing standard of produce and safe and effective supplement. So personally, I have studied stress for the last 6 years now, and have been gathering information from peer reviews, research papers, seminars, and webinars from prominent functional medicine doctors, and of course experts in the field, and all conditions linked to chronic stress. And I believe to understand stress is vital because of our modern lifestyle. So without any further ado, we're going to start the slides. So first, we will be looking at defining stress to understand what stress really is and what impact it can have on the body and body system as a whole. We will also discuss inflammation and its influence on stress-related responses within the body. We will also look at blood sugar balance and the importance of keeping blood sugar levels stable. We will address modern lifestyle, malnourishment, anxiety, and constant level of stress. And finally, we will approach macrotherapy and the therapeutic use of medicinal mushrooms techniques to reduce stress, the use of nutrition to regulate blood sugar level, and key nutrients known to reduce stress, which can be used in everyday cooking. So today's stress can be physical, generated also by the environment, including pollution, cosmetics, and food. Physiological, psychological, from social disruption, and also anticipatory. It is important to note that all these different types of stress generate the same body responses and are identically registered by the brain. Stress is stress. I really do love Robert Sapolsky's words from his book, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And he says, essentially, we humans live well enough and long enough and now smart enough to generate all sorts of stressful events purely in our heads. How many people worry about whether social security is going to last as long as they will, or what they are going to say on the first date? Viewed from the perspective of the evolution of the animal kingdom, sustained psychological stress is a recent invention, mostly limited to human and other social primates. We can experience wildly strong emotion, provoking our body into an accompanying uproar linked to mere thought. And I thought that was really, really important. And I would like also to cite Dr. McEwen's approach to stress, an American neuroendocrinologist who runs the Harold and Margaret Millikan Hatch Laboratory of Neuroendocrinology at the Rockefeller University, in an article that was published in the Journal of Psychiatry and Neuroscience in 2005. The word stress is at best an ambiguous term. For some, it means excitement and challenge, which it terms good stress, and for many others, it reflects an undesirable state of chronic fatigue, worry, frustration, and inability to cope, which it has termed bad stress. For this latter situation, I prefer it writes the term stressed out, which implies the chronic nature of a negative state. As shown on the diagram, inspired from Selye's work, the instigator of the stress and his study, some stress is good, but too much and for too long has a clear negative impact on health. The point where stress is neither bad nor good, when the mind is clear and focused greater, when you can achieve much more than you thought you could, when your focus and concentration is greater, when all distraction and other encumbering thoughts are all but for a moment gone, that peak, that moment of great clarity and performance is very, very personal and varies greatly between individuals. For example, some people think they are weak and crumble under the slightest load or surprise. They usually do not do well with sudden events. Other people will burn the midnight oil because they feel they can carry on, not stopping until they are finished it all. Usually setting their own deadline so that they can concentrate even harder and get results faster. But this also means that once the pressure is too great, then the abilities, productivity as a whole dips, and now this becomes a problem. Being overwhelmed, losing control is just the next step. The brain switches off, flooded with stress hormones, the blood with sugar, since all that your body wants to do is get ready to run because danger is imminent. Clearly, this makes stress very difficult to define because it is so very different for each of us, and the way we react to it is even more so. But the worst is, as we have just discussed, we can actually worry in anticipation of a stressful or challenging event. We are the only animals on this planet to do this, experiencing wildly strong emotion linked to mere thoughts. Indeed, we have created psychological stress. Stress actually in itself is not a bad thing, for it is a defense mechanism that has done many good for human survival. But unlike zebra, we do not go into a seizure-like fit to evacuate the stress following a traumatic or worrying or demanding event. We can carry the stress for days by just using thoughts, circling in and out of our conscious mind, or worse, ruminating over and over, thinking what we could have done better. Some people are so stressed, it is all they know and it becomes part of who they are. So yes, stress can become a problem when it is taking over our life and subsequently makes us ill. We are no longer in control of our emotions and our days or our nights, and most probably cannot sleep, which makes us worry or stress even more. A decade earlier, Dr. McEwen also explained that stress is frequently seen as a significant contributor to disease, including specific effects of stress on immune and cardiovascular systems, proving that the concept of homeostasis failed to help us to understand the hidden toll of chronic stress on the body, and a new concept needed to be created. A state he termed allostasis, when the physiologic system within the body fluctuate to meet demands from external forces rather than maintaining constancy. Allostatic load, or the price of adaptation, is the cost of chronic exposure to fluctuating or heightened response resulting from repeated or chronic environmental challenge that an individual reacts to as being particularly stressful. Allostatic overload occurs when the body is overwhelmed, affecting all body systems, creating the perfect imbalances and opening the door to a disease state. And it all starts with the autonomic nervous system, an imbalance between the sympathetic, flight or fight, or the parasympathetic, healing and repair states. Whenever the flight or fight mode is dominating, for example, during a long period of intense stress, the body adjusts, switching off body functions that are not primordial for survival and therefore functions differently. For example, heart rate and blood pressure both increase. Enzymes production is reduced and their functions alter, which impact on salivation, for example, stomach juices, and digestion as a whole. Glucose is also released from liver, leading to sugar flooding blood vessels. Some people will also experience disturbed sleep. So to understand how stress can affect blood sugar levels, digestion, and sleep, we need to understand the body and how the body reacts to stress. And it all starts with the adrenals. The adrenal glands and their connection to the hypothalamus and pituitary are shown in this diagram, and is the main generator of body responses involved in acute and chronic stress. It works on the negative feedback loop system, which is affected when stress hormones, chronic and high level of cortisol remains in the blood and is not switched off. So dysregulation then occurs because the brain is preparing the body to run away from danger. Many internal changes occur, as explained earlier. However, because we are not physically running, sugar is flooding blood vessels without being utilized, and blood pressure remains dangerously high. Dysregulation affects sleep-wake cycle, also called the circadian rhythm, and blood sugar balance, leading to accumulation of fat around the middle and systemic inflammation. In the next slide, you can see all aspects of stress and how they impact on the body and systems. And all the consequences are then listed in this next slide. So now we have discussed adrenal and the HPA axis. So let's address cortisol itself, the stress hormone. So cortisol is the hormone made from cholesterol, regulated via the HPA axis. Cortisol is the primary hormone responsible for the stress response. As levels rise in the morning, cortisol is what wakes us up and allows us to have the required energy to get up and go about our day. Cortisol also controls insulin by encouraging higher blood sugar and acts upon specific enzymes responsible for stimulating gluconeogenesis, the process to make sugar from non-carb sources, for example, glycerol, which is alcohol, and some amino acids. Conversely, it also stimulates glycogen synthesis in the liver, which is actually the most efficient way for the body to store large amounts of glucose, which actually decreases net blood sugar level. Cortisol's role is also to prevent cells from losing sodium and to excrete potassium. This helps regulate bodily pH, bringing it back into equilibrium after a destabilizing event. Cortisol also affects other hormones, especially sex hormones such as testosterone and estrogen. This is because the core molecule of cortisol is cholesterol. During periods of acute and chronic stress, the body keeps on releasing cortisol in high level. Therefore, the adrenals have a higher demand of cholesterol, virtually taking control of all available stocks for cortisol production. Cortisol is then no longer available for the optimum production of sex hormone, a phenomenon called pregnenolone steal. So actually making a quick note here, sex hormone, especially testosterone, are required for healing and repair of the body for their modulating effects on inflammation. And if I can make another note, we are affirming that all cells membrane require cholesterol, proving that again it is vital to our survival, and that somewhat high cholesterol in the blood, especially what is termed bad cholesterol, may not be in itself a bad thing. But finding out the reason why cholesterol is high in the first place is one of the solutions needed to tackle high blood cholesterol, including addressing the source of the ongoing stress. Hypocorticolism may occur after a prolonged period of hyperactivity of the HPA axis due to chronic stress. Following a long period of constant stress, exceeding 6 months to 1 year, and sometimes longer, possibly lasting decades, an imbalance in cortisol level in the blood may be noticeable, which is characterized by low cortisol released in the morning and somewhat elevated in late afternoon to early evening. So a typical person will find it hard to fall asleep, especially leading to overall low cortisol production. This will also affect the HB axis. Less cortisol being released will impact on CRH release, and low CRH is also a marker in Alzheimer's disease and adrenal fatigue syndrome. Cortisol with weakening effect on the immune systems involves reducing inflammation processes occurring within the body. So for this reason, cortisol is also anti-inflammatory. So actually, you do not feel any pain if you have to run away from danger. But by tampering with immune function, it can render individuals suffering from chronic stress highly vulnerable to infection. So as you can see in this slide, cortisol is also termed a master hormone for the very simple reason that it has dominance over other hormones and not only sex hormones. Cortisol and insulin work against each other, for example. While cortisol releases glucose into the bloodstream, insulin works at storing glucose into the cells for energy. During long periods of stress, the presence of high levels of cortisol means that each cell has a lower response to insulin, and therefore the pancreas must release insulin in much greater level to outnumber cortisol. The impact of digestion and the gut as a whole can be explained. The brain and digestive system actually share a two-way connection. Not only does a healthy gut affect your mental state, but your mental states affect how your gut functions. So a disease state can be generated when gut functions and immune functions are suppressed, and commonly the genesis of many illnesses arises from the dysfunction of either one of these two systems, the adrenals and the gut. Dysfunction of the adrenals affects enzymes production, as explained earlier, but also affects peristalsis, which is the bowel movement leading to actually chronic constipations, for example. Dysfunction of the gastrointestinal tract will generate stressor on the body, including blood sugar dysregulation, reduced digestion and assimilation of nutrients, the body being unable to get the necessary building block for healing and repair and proper functioning, which is also exacerbated by high cortisol level and a lack of sleep. The current diagram shows the link between chronic stress, food, and inflammation occurring in the gut, which is known to increase gut permeability and systemic inflammation, and of course, so often autoimmune condition. When we are stressed, the body craves salty food to keep blood pressure high, but when the body tires, it demands sugar, and often we give in to a sweet treat, maybe two, and is also often accompanied with the use of other stimulants, including caffeine. This simply adds fuel to the fire and contributes to the production of free radicals and free radicals damage, and as a result, systemic inflammation. That is because chronic stress generates diseases in a self-feeding cycle. High level of cortisol reduces digestive and immune functions, opening the door to opportunistic infections, which contribute to inflammations and damages the integrity of the gut wall. The microflora becomes imbalanced, leading to dysbiosis in the gut, accumulation of fat around the middle, all contributed to widespread inflammation, especially when blood sugar levels are kept consistently high. This has a direct influence on the way we feel, usually sluggish and not quite our happy self, sometimes forgetful and unable to concentrate. During the day, we feel quite tired, somewhat affecting upon our mood, and in the evening, when we feel we should actually unwind and relax, we feel wired and full of thoughts, which actually impacts on our sleep as well, especially the falling asleep and the staying asleep part. A moment later, we feel that it is all too much. We are unable to sleep and feel refreshed in the morning. The body often aching and heavy. We feel fatigue setting on our days. We are more prone to anxiety and in some cases to panic attacks and even depression. This also adds to food partly digested, entering the gut, and to more inflammation. This is often accompanied by reduced movement and exercising, leading to even more suppressed digestive and immune functions, with reduced oxygenation of the body, assimilation and transport of nutrients to the brain in particular, added to physiological alteration to the brain, leading to cognitive dysfunction, including brain fog, impaired memory, and often rationality. The brain, back to its instinctive self, is driven by fear and fed by ruminating thoughts and self-inflicting inner conversation. The hippocampus, the region of the brain where memories are processed and stored, contains many cortisol receptors. Normal cortisol levels have no adverse effects on the hippocampus. However, excess cortisol overwhelms the hippocampus and actually causes atrophy, which is also shrinking. The long-term constant cortisol exposure associated with chronic stress produces further symptoms, including impaired cognition, decreased thyroid function, and accumulation of abdominal fat, which itself has implications for cardiovascular health. And this is actually an extract of the Dartmouth Undergraduate Journal of Science of 2010. And of course, as more and more cortisol is being released into the bloodstream, the cycle just continues. There are many solutions to combating stress, but they may not work for everyone. Therefore, it is important to find out what works for you. As a nutritional therapist and a naturopath, I'm always looking at the body in a holistic manner, never trying to patch holes or suppress symptoms, and always look for the source of the problem. So to find a solution, you need to identify the source or the sources, in many cases, to your state of stress and then act upon it, whatever it may be. The best solution to shift from a sympathetic to a parasympathetic mode is deep breathing. This actually acts as a reset button to the brain, and it can be done anytime and for any length of time until you feel the manifestations of a stressful event disappear. Meditation is also a great tool. However, it may not work for everyone, especially for individuals unable to sit still. Light exercise. It can be anything. An activity that makes you feel good and gets things moving, even in your head. Having a great social circle, the kind that makes you feel great about yourself, surrounded by people who care about you, and having fun. Lots of fun and laughter can be a precious help. Of course, this is the hardest when feeling stuck and carrying a tired and heavy body, and often in pain. It may also be difficult for some individuals, but always look at consuming nutrient-dense food, banning completely empty-calorie and refined products. Nutrient-dense foods are also proven to boost antioxidants uptake, necessary to prevent free radical damage, a leading cause of inflammation, increased blood pressure, atherosclerosis, and cardiovascular disease. Smoking is also responsible for the production of free radical. Quitting may contribute to decreasing that damaging effect on the body. Another way to boost antioxidant and key nutrient distribution is to increase consumption of fruit, which are rich in potassium and vitamin. Vegetables, delivering constant levels of magnesium, calcium, sodium, and essential fatty acids. And of course, B vitamin-rich foods, which are necessary for the manufacture of cortisol. Actually, some people may benefit from 5 to 10 portions a day instead of the recommended 5 a day. Mushrooms are also a great option to tackle stress and restore homeostasis in the body. Mushrooms have been around for millennia and used therapeutically, and research has discovered over 150 active compounds within the mushrooms. The most known are alpha and beta glucans and triterpenes, which are highly active molecules. Mushrooms are natural health remedies, and they contain active enzymes, prebiotics, natural antibiotics, B vitamins, vitamin C, ergosterol, minerals such as selenium and zinc, plus all of the essential amino acids to keep you naturally balanced. The diagram shows the main active compounds of the mushrooms. So the term mycotherapy is referred to the therapy that uses the mushroom's kingdom as a medicinal element. The use of the term mycotherapy, coined by Ifadaterra in 2006, is now used worldwide when referring to therapy using mushrooms or fraction of mushrooms for health purposes. It is used for prevention as well as integrative and complementary supplement for diverse pathologies. All the mushrooms are grown in the natural environment under the ancient chestnut forest of the Galicia in northwest Spain. The mycosalute products have been formulated using the best medicinal ingredients from medicinal mushrooms. Ifadaterra have full control of its medicinal mushrooms production and traceability from growing their own strain to extraction, packaging of supplement and capsules. 100% organic, 100% vegetable capsule with antioxidant capsule encapsulated in their own laboratories. Ifadaterra medicinal mushrooms are grown on hardwood logs naturally, whereas mycelium, or the root, does not require all of this process, and therefore it is much cheaper. So apart from that, mycelium with other companies usually grown with some sort of carbohydrate, rice, wheat, cereals, and does not create the same properties of beta-glucans, anti-cancer properties of the triterpenes, and other vitamins and minerals. So the therapeutic effect that Ifadaterra recommends for the following protocol is 2 capsules in the morning on an empty stomach. This equates to or exceeds 1 gram of extract, which is the minimum therapeutic dosage to address chronic conditions, and may be even higher depending on the severity of the chronic condition. There will be a page at the end of this presentation to contact Ifadaterra and discuss your individual protocol or respond to a question about specific dosage. So let's start by looking at reishi. Research shows that reishi works as a sedative and muscle relaxant, favoring restful sleep, which is vital in stress management. The main action of reishi is to regulate the nervous system. It is also known to have adaptogenic properties, helping the body to cope with stress and stabilizes the central nervous system, all of which is necessary when fighting chronic stress. Ifadaterra intensive research suggests that because reishi has anti-inflammatory properties with similar action to hydrocortisone or indeed cortisol, it also affects on hidden stress occurring within the body. Rich in powerful enzymatic antioxidants, it acts upon inflammation pathways on another level, preventing damage from free radical. Reishi can be taken on its own. Microarray, like shown here, is useful for migraine and stress-related issues and anxiety. It protects against reactive oxygen species or free radicals damage and is also recommended for skin conditions due to inflammation. For this reason, today I have chosen my comics from Ifadaterra for a content reishi in a very highly concentrated form. Reishi, in this case, also work synergistically with other mushrooms added to this supplement formula, in this case, maitake and shiitake. We will discuss maitake shortly, but we will be looking at shiitake now in more details and how it works in synergy with reishi. So reishi, shiitake extra is a very effective supplement for the management of the cardiovascular system. It is known for lowering high blood pressure for the action of tyrosinase and erythrodenine, which is usually high due to stress and increased blood sugar and sodium level, and of course, inflammation in the blood vessel. Together, reishi acts on calming the brain and protects the cardiovascular system via its antioxidant property, and shiitake, also added to the displayed formula, by acting on blood pressure itself, is tackling several expressions of stress all at once. Shiitake has a high content of disaccharide trehalose, which is a sugar of slow digestion that favors the growth of Bifidobacteria brevis and Lactobacillus brevis in the colon, benefiting a symbiotic gut microflora, preventing or negating the effects of opportunistic infection and dysbiosis and cognitive function. Coprinus is another mushroom with amazing therapeutic uses because coprinus is rich in nutrients needed for healing and repair, for enzyme production. It negates many effects of stress, but mostly coprinus is an important ally against stress because of a very particular compound, vanadium, that is known for its antidiabetic properties, acting at the pancreatic level by protecting and revitalizing the beta cells, the actual producer of insulin, which is very interesting for patients with diabetes type 1. And also at the cellular level, potentiating the cell's membrane receptors with hypoglycemic effects, resulting in higher insulin sensitivity, ideal for patients with diabetes type 2. So microcopine, which I'm going to use today and talk about, is my ideal mushroom formula with coprinus, maitake, which we'll also discuss shortly in more details, and royal sun agaricus mushrooms working synergistically to reduce blood sugar level and facilitating uptake of sugar by blood cells, with that and preventing an insulin spike. Lion's mane is also another therapeutic mushroom with key actions usable in stress management. Lion's mane is particularly known for its gut healing properties by regenerating the epithelial membrane. By feeding the symbiotics microflora, lion's mane has an indirect effect on the health of the central nervous system, but also a direct effect with adaptogenic properties and protections of the nervous system. In particular, due to erinacines, specific compounds known to regenerate the myelin sheath and nervous tissue. So today, for this reason, I have chosen Evadatera mycoleo, a highly concentrated supplement made from lion's mane. I have also chosen to incorporate Erythrium Digest, a superfood powder containing lion's mane for its fiber content, which has proven probiotic effect. So adding the extract and powder together will work synergistically to heal the gut, but also to promote a symbiotic microflora. Now I'm going to talk about maitake, and a key role of maitake is due to its high content in digestive enzyme, assisting digestion, which may promote a better assimilation of key nutrients. Further, it reduces fatty acids absorption and fatty acids synthesis from glucose, which is useful in weight management and reducing fat storage in adipocytes. So for this purpose, I have chosen to use macomai, and it will be used in a bonus recipe that will be shown later. And this recipe is also available on my Facebook page if you want to have a look. Other recipe containing the aforementioned extract and superfoods powder I've also featured in the next slides. So if you do have any question regarding Ephazastera supplement range and other products, or you would like to benefit from practitioners' discounts, you can contact Ephazastera via email to the following email address, which is health@ephazastera.com. And again, Ephazastera website details are also shown here at the bottom of the slides. So I just would like to take another second to repeat the protocol for the mushrooms. So for a therapeutic effect, Ephazastera recommends the following protocols: 2 capsules in the morning or an empty stomach. This equates to or exceeds 1 gram of extract, which is the minimum therapeutic dosage to address chronic conditions. Actually, it may actually be even higher depending on the severity of the chronic condition. That's why it is important if you want to look at microtherapy to contact Ephazastera so they can discuss your protocol and what your options are. So this is the end of the seminar. I will invite you to experiment with cooking. You will have the recipe given to you as well. So as you can see, there will be features here, and they will be available to you to cook at home. And they are incorporating all the supplements I have just talked about and how to implement them in the recipes. And again, here you will have all the links to find the extra recipes. And of course, I will keep adding some as time goes on. If you want to have another look at my website for further article on nutrition and recipe, please feel free to read my blog. And my newsletter is also available if you want further look at stress, which has been dealt with for the last 2 years. So many articles will also explain in very much details all that stress does to the body and how you can use any of techniques that are working for you and all the apps out there. So if you have any question, please feel free to ask, and of course the answer will be sent to you by email with the slide themselves. So thank you very much for being with me here today and for listening to the webinar, and it's been a pleasure, and thank you very much again. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.